Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Evan Worley. Well, we're back with another episode, guys, and so that just means that it's the weekend. I hope you guys all have a great weekend, had a great week leading up to it. I'm just going to be spending my weekends this week, at least, watching this Stipe versus Cormier UFC fight. I think that's pretty much the staple of the weekend. DC versus Stipe 3. It's the end of the trilogy, and it sounds like Daniel Cormier is going to be ending his fighting career. I always thought he was pretty boring to watch fight. He kind of just laid his fat on top of everybody else and tired him out, and then later in the match choked him out because he was just pretty much smarter than everybody else wrestling-wise and just knew the books. He felt like he was the heavyweight UFC Floyd Mayweather in a sense, where he just knew the rules and knew the scoring better than anybody else. So he used that to his advantage, and last time they fought, Stipe, he tried to stand up with him. It's like he let social media get into his head or something, and Stipe was able to knock him out instead of, doing like he did the first time and going to the ground and pretty much wearing him out and then knocking him out later in the fight. So we'll see how this one goes. I'm pretty excited for this because all you guys know that I am a big UFC fan. But this is not the UFC podcast. This is not the GSMC Mixed Martial Arts pod. This is the baseball pod. So let's get into some baseball news. So, crazy things have happened since the last episode. It looks like Jeff McNeil was carted off the field. Like, he got injured pretty bad. Aaron Judge got hurt. Ronald Acuna's hurt. Like, there's so many. Sean Doolittle's hurt. And it's like, we've seen more walk-offs. We saw an inside the park walk-off. Like, it was just insane. It was just madness. Madness left and right during the week. But one thing that caught all of us off guard is the Cleveland Indians pitchers being the first to break the strict new MLB coronavirus protocol. It only took a week. I don't know if I'm surprised that it lasted a week before it got broken, or if it just got broken in the first week. I can't really tell which one's more, like, newsworthy, I guess. But for those who don't know, over the weekend, the Cleveland Indians were in Chicago playing the Chicago White Sox, and couple of their pitchers had the bright ideas to say, you know what, I'm going out on the town in Chicago, which is one of the most densely populated cities in America, and decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and have a lot of fun. Now, normally, during the regular season of any other year, I don't see a problem with that. We're all human, and let's be real with everybody. We're all young. If you're listening to this, you're probably between, I would say, 20 and probably 30, I would say, between that little era of your life. And, I am 25 years old. I've broken all protocols in the MLB, but, it's hard. It really is. Like, at some point, you just crack, and you just got to go outside, and you got to do your things. Like, even if it's, like, these guys have to think about, if a walk around the outside of the hotel is a problem or not. Like, I didn't read, like, I don't know all the rules off the top of my head, but, like, legitimately leaving the hotel is a problem. And it's like, hey, like, you know, people are going to want to leave the hotel. And it just is magnified because the Cleveland Indians have the best pitching staff in baseball. Their staff has posted a 2.04 ERA to start the season. We're almost 20 games in, and they're slightly above a 2 ERA. Easily the best in the game right now. And, you know, Plesac and Clevenger are a huge part of that. Do I blame Plesac for going out? Yeah, you know, you got to think a little bit more than that. You know, you're a professional athlete, and there is, you know, this. I think the story of last year was Cookie Carrasco coming back from his bout with cancer. So he is, like, one of the main people that the virus is targeting, and they were just like, screw it, I'm going out. It's like, you know, everybody here has probably played baseball in high school, college, you know, maybe they've had a little stint in the minors or whatever, and it's like, we all know that we're in our little cliques, we're in our little subsections. Like, the infielders are together, but then it's like the shortstops are with the shortstops, the first basemen are normally with the first baseman, and so on and so forth. And, you know, the pitchers are all together, but then there's a clique of just the starters, you know, those 5 guys, and it's like you got someone who is very, 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 you know, prone to getting it, I guess. That's not the right word, but, you know, it's, you guys know what I'm saying. Like, if it does get Cookie Carrasco, it's going to be a big deal. And that's in the subsection of your subsection of the team. You got to be smarter than that, guys. And, you know, Plesac had a, like, he has, you know, a lot of blame on him for doing it, but then there's also a lot of blame on Clevenger. Because, you know, when they found out, they sent him back in a rental car or car service or something, which I think is hilarious. There's nothing more humbling than, you know, knowing that your team's on a flight back from Chicago to Cleveland, which will probably take about 90 minutes, and you're about 3.5 hours in filling up your gas tank in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, going like, man, I really wish I didn't go get that pizza that night. But, you know, I think he learned his lesson on that. But I think, so he has a lot to blame, but I think the worst is Clevenger not fessing up to it until later. Because Clevenger was on the plane. And it's like, yo, do you not understand the circumstance of what happened? Like, yeah, I get you had like a guilty conscience, so you kind of fessed up to it. But you fessed up to it after, you know, you were in a confined space where they don't pressure in, like, they don't put in new air. It's just recycled air. So you're breathing, you know, if you have any type, you know, if you're not wearing a mask, whatever, you know, you have all those, like, air particles, you know, being cycled through the entire plane. Like, that is a major, major issue. I mean, that's probably how the Marlins got it. That's probably how the Cardinals got it. You know, it's weird. Like, you got to be smarter than that. And, you know, they did come out, and they have made statements, like Zach Plesac, his statement, you know, he made, it was a quote, "I would like to apologize to my teammates, the entire Cleveland organization, and all of our fans for my actions on Sunday evening. I realized I made a poor choice to leave the hotel, which broke protocols, and it could have endangered other people." Like, I don't know, the guy who just got cancer on your team, it could have endangered him. It immediately endangered him. Anyways, I understand that in these times of uncertainties, I need to be more vigilant and responsible on my end, and I'm determined to earn my teammates' forgiveness and get back to work. Very PR of him. Let's go to Clevenger's. Clev said, quote, "There's an implicit trust that each of my teammates share as we navigate a season during this pandemic, and I broke that trust. In Chicago, I made the mistake of violating protocols, but my biggest mistake of all was not immediately coming clean to my teammates. I owe them better. I now realize that by even exposing myself to one person more than necessary, I am putting myself, my teammates, and the guys I compete against, the umpires, the staff, and the Indians organization, as well as the game that I love, at risk. There is no excuse for my actions, and I can only take responsibility and learn from my mistakes. Moving forward, I promise my actions will reflect a full understanding of the protocols set in place while I continue my passion for competing for the incredible Indians fans in the city that I adore. Yeah, but at least he fessed up to it. But yeah, but you blew it. You blew it. Like, you got your guilty conscience, and yeah, you fessed up. But you fessed up at the wrong time. You got to fess up before that. Once they say that Plesac is, like, in a rental car on the ride home, granted, we all know it's going to be a car service where he has tons of leg room and everything like that. Like, trust me, that guy was not uncomfortable on his ride home. But it was still an uncomfortable ride home. It had to be just dead silent for 5 hours. Like, that had to suck. Unless he had, like, Bluetooth in his car or something. He can just bump tunes whenever he wanted. But I doubt the driver was really listening to whatever he was listening to at the time. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But still, man, you blew it. Once you see that and it's like, yo, they're sending him home in a car. Like, I'm going to go on the plane. Then get out. Because, like, not only is it with... We all know how this goes. It's not only are you endangering your teammates, but you're also endangering their families and the families' families and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, we all know how that goes. In Clevenger's absence, because Clev went back, what was it? Adam Plutko, who we'll get to his comments later. He made some pretty harsh comments, but he stepped in and took over for Clev in the start against the Cubs and got the loss after giving up one single run in 4 innings. Now, Plutko came out and had a lot of words to say. I wasn't really familiar with Adam Plutko that well, so I looked at his baseball reference. Turns out he's not that bad of a pitcher. He's had about 4 seasons in the bigs. I'd say I use seasons sparingly. He's had a 4-5 record, a 7-5 record, and this year he's 1-1. He's 28 years old, got a 2.45 ERA in 11 innings. He's got a 1.85 ERA plus and a 4.43 FIP and a 1.0 WHIP. Let's see, Ks per 9, 5.7. Not too great, not too shabby though. I mean, a 2.45 ERA and a 4.43 FIP is not terrible. Not terrible at all. But he came out and he had some pretty harsh words for the so-called leader of the rotation, Mike Clevenger, and the new upstart guy, Zach Plesac. So what Adam Plutko said was, quote, "They hurt us bad. They lied to us. They sat there and publicly said things they didn't follow through on. I'll let them sit here and tell you how they're going to earn our trust back. I don't need to put words in their mouths." Adam Plutko came out firing, pistols firing. He is angry. And you know what? I don't blame him. Like, I really don't. I really don't blame him. These guys are going to be out for 2 weeks, and, anything can happen in 2 weeks, especially with this year where, we've seen crazy things happen already. And, we've only been playing for 2 weeks. So this happened Sunday, so I'm pretty sure they went back, let's see, the 10th, so Sunday. Or they went back Monday. So Clev probably is going to be in a 2-week quarantine starting the 10th. And Plesac is probably starting the quarantine also on the 10th. So let's just say it's the 10th, and they have to stay home for 2 weeks. They're only off 2 weeks, nothing crazy. So what they did was miss back-to-back games against the Cubs, which they lost 1-7 and 2-7, not looking great. And then they have a series against the Tigers, who we found out, again, in their series with the White Sox, are not as bad as we expected them to be. They're actually a formidable opponent, so we got to see how that goes. They have 3 games in Detroit. They have 3 pretty much cupcake games against the Pirates, and then they got 3 more games at home versus the Tigers, and then they would miss 1 more game, which is the start of the series against the Twins, which is a pivotal series where you have to be able to pitch. Like, you got to be able to miss bats. and you're missing two of your best pitchers going into one of the most dangerous teams in your division. It's a huge series, and so they're missing one of those games in games that they can't really lose. And if they hiccup and the Tigers come out and take control of second place in the division, with the White Sox, and they're battling back, this isn't a series where you can afford to mess around and lose your spot and just lose games. You can't lose right now. Right now, it's too hectic, especially in the AL Central. The AL Central is way more competitive than we ever thought it was going to be. So it's, I don't know, big bonehead mistake made by those guys. And then Frankie Lindor was the last to make comments on these guys. So Frankie Lindor came out, and he delivered a pretty strong message to Clevenger and Plesac when they broke the protocols. He said, quote, "We have to sit and look at ourselves in the mirror. It's not about the person you see in the mirror. It's who's behind you. It's the other people. It's not about that one person. It's about everybody around you. The family members, the coaching staff, Carlos Carrasco, all the players on the team that are high risk. We're in a time right now with COVID, with racism, with everything. This is a time to be selfless. This is when we have to sit back and understand that this is not one person specifically. It's about everybody. It's about your neighbor, and it's about your neighbors. It's not just about you specifically." Big words coming from the Indians, pretty much calling these guys just selfish. That's not good. When you're the leaders of the team, you're getting called selfish by the other players, like the other leaders of the team. So we'll see how they deal with these next 2 weeks, and we'll see how these guys come back and how they earn the trust, and they form together, and hopefully they're able to still push for the playoffs. This team's been it's put together a great season so far. I don't want them to go home early. They've been playing some great baseball, so we'll see how they go from there. So that is our first segment. I will be right back after the break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk about the trade deadline. The trade deadline is coming up in 2 weeks on August 31st. So there's a lot of things that could be happening, a lot of question marks. I'm going to head to the break right now, and I will be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And we are back. So, I hinted at this at the end of the last segment, but right now we are going to start talking about the trade deadline. Now, the trade deadline this year is weird for many reasons. Mainly because it's a 60-game season. So, teams, it's coming in 2 weeks, right? I think it's August 31st. Today's the 13th, so 18 days. A little under 3 weeks. At that point, we had only been playing baseball for 1 month into the year. Who's buying and who's selling? Who's really going all in, we are winning this season no matter what. We are competing for it. And that's all that matters to us, is this year and nothing else. Are teams really going to blow a bag on some free agent, on some potential future free agents, unload the free agent, or the pipeline, I guess, the minor leaguers, for a big name? let's just go over some of the names that are on the list that could be possibly moved. Now, these guys are potential free agents at the start of the off season, but no way any of these guys are moved. So just potential free agents that are definitely staying put because they are on true contenders and winners. It starts off with Marcus Semien of the A's. You got George Springer, Michael Brantley, Yuli Gurriel, DJ LeMahieu, Masahiro Tanaka, James Paxton, Justin Turner, Jock Peterson, Trevor Bauer, and Nelson Cruz. Those are some guys that are definitely staying put because their team is contending. Now, here we got a few names. I'm on ESPN.com and I'm looking at some of the reports that are going around and some names that looks like they could be on the move. So we got Mike Minor of the Texas Rangers. He's had a minor dip in velocity, but who knows? He's at the lower 90s. He's a kind of an end of the rotation type guy. Not really liking this, but I could see the Braves trading for him, and me really regretting it. Oh, God. Especially since Cole Hamels is not coming back until around September, so I could definitely see us having Mike Minor again. Robbie Ray, he's on the trading block. Arizona hasn't looked really good, and Robbie Ray has been just as bad, really. But, it could be one of those like Justin Verlander type situations where he was. Now, obviously, I'm not comparing Robbie Ray to Justin Verlander. That would be insane. But Verlander did not have the spark towards the end of his time in Detroit, and when he went to Houston, it looked like he got it all back in the snap of a finger. And, Robbie Ray could be one of those guys. He still has a really live arm. He's got a 3.72 ERA over the past 3 seasons. He could definitely still get it done. But it's just, what are they going to get back for Robbie Ray? He's definitely buy low. He's there. There's no. He can't be worse. He can't be lower on the totem pole. It's just like, all right, maybe we can tweak him around, which really, really, really stinks for the Arizona Diamondbacks because he is a good pitcher. But it's you bears to question like what are we getting for him? No one really is going to know at the end of the day. You got Jonathan Villar. Jonathan Villar is he's playing really well on the Marlins. But the Marlins are also playing very good. Are the Marlins going to, are the Marlins sellers right now? Or are they going to just ride this wave out? They should sell to get more prospects. When knowing Derek Jeter, they're going to sell. But, I think it'd be fun just to see him like double down and ride it out. He hit, just reading the biography on him, it's he hit 274 with 24 homers and 40 steals for the Orioles last year. But he's off to a slow start this year. So another one. You're selling really low. I don't see you selling Jonathan Villar right now. I'd just say, you sign him again. Another 1-year deal. Tell him to play a little better and ride it out. Might as well. I don't see anything. I don't see you getting anything much for him. Now, and the next on the list is Tommy La Stella. Now, the Angels, they always seem like they're one piece away. I don't get why they always seem like they're one piece away, but they do. Every year. It's like, oh, the Angels, if they just got this one person, they would be back in it. But they never get that one person. They always go for like some random jabroni and, instead of filling up the holes in the, in the bullpen. It doesn't make any sense. Or in the starting rotation, because this year they decided to get Julio Teheran, and shocking, he's still throwing cement mixers at 73 miles per hour bent high. So, you didn't really do much, Anaheim, and you're just going to trade Tommy La Stella, who's never played better in his entire career and is actually a solid guy. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I would say for the Angels, you gotta hanker down. You gotta board down the hatches, and you just gotta ride the wave until next season. Just hope that Mike Trout doesn't get really bored and cuts off the season, whatever, and just kind of ride the wave and see what happens. Lastly on the list, this I disagree with wholeheartedly because I do think that this guy's a better catcher than who they have starting, and it's James McCann of the White Sox. Now, the White Sox have, Yasmani Grandal starting, but Yasmani Grandal has not been good this year. He really has not been great. Let's see if I can pull up his stats right now. So Yasmani Grandal is batting .245 with 9 RBIs and no homers. This is his, okay. Let's go to his splits. Let's go to his full splits here. Why is that on? That's too loud. Anyways, okay, so he's had 7 at-bats. He's 2 for 7 against lefties on the year. He is 11 for 46 against righties this year. He's batting .211 at home, .265 on the road. His on-base percentage is, on-base percentage isn't too bad. It's in the, mid to high threes. But his slugging percentage is absolutely awful. Versus lefties, he's slugging .286. Righties, he's slugging .304. Horrible. Terrible. I don't get why they're going so crazy over Yasmani Grandal and they want to keep him so bad. I mean, they paid him a lot of money, so it's not going to be able to, just, throw him, off the books or anything like that to the highest bidder. And let's go to James McCann. I get that James McCann hasn't had the number of at-bats that he's going to be, that he needs to actually put together, a great season. He's only had 32 of them. But in 32 ABs, let's see, he's batting .625 against lefties, .292 against righties. His on-base percentage is .750 against lefties, .292 against righties. And, let's see, he's slugging .656 on the year and has an OPS of 1.101. Why is he the one getting dished? See, that doesn't make any sense to me. I would trade Yasmani Grandal in a second, and I would keep James McCann. I think James McCann has a better ceiling than this guy does, to be completely honest. But then again, guys, we actually had some technical difficulties here, but we are back. So what I was saying is, I think that James McCann definitely has more potential than Yasmani Grandal does, because, I've never really been a Yasmani Grandal guy. I have been. He did go to the University of Miami, and I am a huge University of Miami guy. But yeah, Yas has never, he's never really wowed me in the bigs. He always has, he just has the clutch hits out of nowhere. But I mean, you can't rely on clutch hits in the first inning. I would more bring him off the bench and start James McCann than start Yas and sit McCann. That's just me. But. So basically what I'm going to do is I am going to spend this time once an episode going through each division because we got about 3 weeks left. We have 6 divisions. If I do 2 a week, we'll get there plenty of time. So basically right now I'm going to go through the NL East and just see what kind of questions they would really have and what we can answer and who they would really go after if they were to go after anybody. And what would I do if I was in the if I was in the GM seats. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the Atlanta Braves. So the Braves, their rotation has been injured and injured and injured and injured again. So basically I could see them going at, like I said, I could see them going after Mike Minor. I don't want them to go after Mike Minor. The way that we've performed against the Yankees these past few games, I don't think that, we're in any position to actually contend for a World Series. Our bullpen is great, but we can't, we're not getting to the bullpen with the lead. I love me some Touki Toussaint, but my goodness, no. He's not there yet. He really isn't. And I don't know if he's ever going to be there. I think this guy is just a lovable Julio Teheran at the end of the day. So, I think we should write it off until next season, try and pick up somebody in free agency, maybe go after Robbie Ray, I guess, and hope that he has a Justin Verlander type moment because, we'll have, maybe Touki will figure it out after a long, stint in, or a long just summer or a winter, I guess. Maybe he'll figure it out. I don't know. But I mean, we have the option of getting Felix Hernandez back. We have the options of getting Cole Hamels back, maybe. Then you can add, we have Touki here. You have Max Fried here. We have Ian Anderson still coming up. There's so many options that we can bring in. But I don't see the point in blowing, a bunch of prospects for Mike Minor for half a season. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I say sit for the Braves and just hope that everything turns out okay, because the NL East doesn't really know where it's at. The 3 top contenders are kind of in limbo, and the Marlins are really pushing everybody around. So speaking of which, let's go to the Marlins. The question that they have here on MLB.com is, they say that, like, how will the state of the Marlins evolve? So, they have to stay put. I feel they, don't sell. Don't sell anybody. You're perfect. You're rebuilding. You're doing a great job. You have maybe sell Jesus Aguilar for a couple more prospects. But besides that, this team should stay put. They're on the right track. Sixto Sanchez looks amazing. Sandy Alcantara is really good. Jose Urena, even though I really don't like him, but he's a great pitcher, and Caleb Smith has had a great job. Has done a good job this year. So definitely, they're winning. They need to, get some rotation help. But I think they can do that without, blowing anything up really. So I would say keep it still with the Marlins. Maybe pick up some older guys that they could sell next season to get some more prospects, or who knows? Maybe they could be on the buying market next year. No one really knows. Let's move on to the Mets. So the Mets' big deal is their rotation. Marcus Stroman, he said he threw a simulated game, showed that he was perfectly fine, ready to go, and then backs out on the season claiming COVID-19 concerns. Hey, smart business move by him. He showed up, he got hurt, he came in and he was like, all right, I'm going to throw a makeup start, and he throws it, and everybody goes, wow, Marcus Stroman is at the top of his game. He looks like he's ready to make a push with this Mets team and get him back on the market. And he's like, yeah, nah, I think I'm good. I'm going to be a free agent soon, so might as well back out of this. So, the Mets, their offense is okay, whatever, no big deal there, but the rotation is a big issue. Syndergaard's gone, Marcus Stroman gone, David Peterson David Peterson's doing fine, but Michael Wacha's on the injured list. Steven Matz and Rick Porcello are struggling. It's just not looking good for the New York Mets. And I think that the Mets. I honestly do think that the Mets should sell. I think that the Mets should sell like crazy. I think they should go full Marlins, because how bad would it be if the Mets are not that great, and then the Marlins are worse? The Marlins sell everybody, and the Marlins go from worse to better, before the Mets do. The Mets could sell DeGrom. They could sell. I know Mets fans are going to kill me for this, but they could sell Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, and get they could get a whole starting. They could get a whole team by 2026. For those guys, not even 2026, by 2024. 2024, they would have enough, guys from that trade alone in the MLB to actually push for something really good. I don't think that's a terrible idea if it's the Mets, especially since they're not really going anywhere and they're just going to blow a lot of money on, future contracts anyway, trying to get good and, just being in the Mets limbo like they really are. So I would say, if I were the Mets, I would sell. Moving on to the Philadelphia Phillies. So, Phillies bullpen has been absolutely horrible. They've been horrible. There's nothing that you can say to make them, to kind of justify how bad they are. They're not good. They've made a few moves. They've called people up and down from their site in Allentown, Pennsylvania, but they're not really doing too much. And it's, it seems like every time I watch, the Philadelphia Phillies, it's like, oh, JT Realmuto just, smacked the life out of this ball. Oh, hey, look at Bryce Harper sending it 460 feet to right field. And that's it. I don't see anything else regarding the Phillies. I don't see anybody talking about them. I don't really know what what they're even looking like right now. Let's see what the standings are for them. Okay, yeah. So the Phillies are currently in last place in the NL. So that makes a lot of sense. They currently have the second worst record in the National League. So yeah, safe to say that the whole Joe Girardi experience isn't going exactly as I planned, but who knows? Now, here's another question. Are they going to sell? They have a lot of pieces that they could sell and, kind of go in a new direction, kind of like the Marlins did back in the day when they got their quote-unquote super team with Jose Reyes and all those guys. But, it's going to be something that you got to see in the upcoming weeks, I guess. I think they're going to pretty much stay put. I feel like everybody's going to stay put. I feel like they're going to, lead up to this trade deadline, like something weird's going to happen, and nothing's really going to happen out of it. I guess we'll see, though. And then let's go back to, let's see, where is everything at? Right here. So, finishing it off with the Nationals, the big question around the Nationals is what's going to happen to Steven Strasburg. Like Steven Strasburg, he has the nerve thing in his hand. It's not really working out for him. He says he hasn't quite figured it out or, how to pitch through it yet. And he's 32 years old. He doesn't think it's going to be a long-term thing with his throw, with his health or anything like that. But, you never know. You never really know. So, could the Nationals, splurge on somebody to try to keep the rotation hot? Or are they going to, try and sell? They could actually sell. I don't think they're going to sell. Like I said, I don't think anybody's going to sell really. But just for the sake of entertainment and quality and podcasting in general, I guess we'll find out. But, yeah, who knows? The Washington Nationals are currently 6-9, the third worst record in the NL East, or in the NL as a whole. Let's see, what's the worst? Is that the tied for the third worst in baseball in general? That's not good. So, who knows? They could actually sell. All I know is Juan Soto's back, and he's hitting 475-foot dingers. And all I will say to this, if I have Juan Soto, there is no chance that I am looking at doing anything besides contending for another World Series. Alrighty, guys. So that was my take on the trade deadline. And when I get back, I'm going to be talking about the, surprisingly heated NL MVP debate. So last week I went over the debate, like every team's MVP, and now, over the weekend we've really solidified that it is a 3-man race, and I will go over that in just a second. I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Alright, everybody, we are back. Thank you so much for sticking around this long. I really appreciate it. So, I hinted at this, I didn't hint at it, I straight up said it. So, we are going to be looking at the 3-man race for the NL MVP. So last week, or last episode, I should say, I went over every team's MVP because, hey, what you should do 3 weeks into the season is, declare somebody the MVP of your team already when you have about 40-something games to go. That makes about as much sense as anything, but we did it. So basically what I'm going to do is we saw a huge separation, I would say, within the race for the National League MVP. Now, the AL MVP, I think, is still up for grabs. Aaron Judge is, a clear-cut favorite, but he's hurt. Mike Trout is Mike Trout. He's killing it, but, the Angels aren't very good. So, it's still kind of up for grabs. No one's really solidified themselves. Could it even be a pitcher this year? Like, Shane Bieber has come out, and he looks like he's ready to take the AL MVP. It could be, someone on the Oakland Athletics. You don't really know up to this point. Heck, I mean, Nelson Cruz is about as good as an option as anybody else in the American League. So, but the major standouts have definitely been coming from the National League. So I'm going to be going over the top 3 in the National League MVP race. So starting off, this is my clear-cut number 1. He was my clear-cut number 1 before the season even started, and I really wish I would have put in that bet at plus 1,500 that this guy was going to win the NL MVP because I thought it was really easy to understand, but it is Fernando Tatis Jr. So going over, I'm on his baseball reference page right now. The guy's got 16 runs scored, 18 RBIs, 5 steals. He's batting .316. He's got 8 homers, 24 hits, and a WAR of 1.3. Move out of the way, cursor. Okay, so, he's leading the entire league, or he's leading the National League, I would say, in homers because, Mike Trout and Aaron Judge hit 9. He's still at 8. He's leading the National League in steals. He's leading the National League in total bases and in slugging percentage. He's got an OPS of 1.09. He's got an OPS plus of 200. This kid is absolutely destroying the baseball at every single step of the way. Now, we all know that the most valuable player award is definitely for, obviously it's for, offensive numbers and all that kind of stuff. But another thing that people aren't really understanding or didn't understand until a few years ago is that the team record really plays a big role into, whatever, who's voting and everything like that. So the Padres are sitting at 11-8. They're a game and a half out of the Rockies out of first place in the NL West. So for me, I'm looking at them like this. If they are even in a wild card spot. So let's just say that the Colorado Rockies are, they win the division, or the Dodgers win the division. Say the Padres end up in third place. Well, obviously we all know about, the Colorado Rockies and their MVP candidate, but we'll get to him in a second. Basically what I'm trying to say is, like, if they're in a position to play in for the playoffs, kind of like, the Pirates were when Andrew McCutchen won, and, he won the MVP of the league, but they just got into the playoff game for the wild card. I think that could happen to Fernando Tatis Jr. for sure. Without question, he would be in there. Because, the Padres haven't been in the playoffs in years. They haven't been this relevant in forever. They tried the super team with a bunch of bozos like James Shields and Justin Upton. Like, they tried to form the super team with the most overrated star, quote unquote stars. I wouldn't have even called them stars. I thought it was dumb to begin with. But yeah, so they tried all that. They've tried every single thing in the books, and the only thing that came out of that super team was the trade with the Chicago White Sox to get Fernando Tatis Jr. that really set him up for the future. With Tatis, if he stays on track and he doesn't get hurt and the Padres stay about where they are or even improve a little bit, because I can see them improving down the line, I think he's a clear-cut MVP winner, no questions asked. Now, moving on to my second place, obviously you got to go Chucky Blackmon right here. So he is batting like, he has insane numbers. He doesn't have the big power numbers. He's only left the ballpark 3 times, and he's only got 6 doubles on the year. Very good numbers. Very good numbers for, 18 games, 9 extra base hits in 18 games. That's not bad at all. I'm not knocking him at it. But, I think the big stat is in 18 games, he has 34 hits. Like I said, 6 doubles, 3 homers, 20 RBIs, leading the majors in RBIs. He's leading in batting average at .472, on-base percentage at .506, and OPS of 1.187, and he's got an OPS plus of 205. Those are absolutely incredible numbers. Like, the most insane stat line. But my thing is, I still would not put him as the clear-cut favorite for the MVP, just because I feel like without Charlie Blackmon, the Rockies would be better off than the Padres. That may be than the Padres without Fernando Tatis. Now, that may be a hot take. That may be an insane take to have. But that's just how I'm feeling at this very moment. And also, another thing, can we not go with the Charlie Blackmon's breaking Ted Williams record this year? Can we stop that right now? Ted Williams played 100 and... I don't know if they played 162 games back then, but he played at least 140 and batted 400. We can't give, Charlie Blackmon the, batting championship when he played 112 less games or whatever, 80 less games than what Ted Williams played. We gotta slow our roll a bit with that. I don't think that flies really well. It wouldn't fly with me. I would put an asterisk next to that. If Barry Bonds gets an asterisk, then his whole thing. Granted, Barry Bonds, he was juicing and everything like that. But my thing is, juicing does not mess with your hand-eye coordination and bat speed and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it just helped him with recovery. And with this, it's if you have 60 games and you bat, 410 and break the record, I don't think you just wipe Ted Williams out. I still think Ted Williams is there. It's just remember Chucky Blackmon and it, kind of stuff like that. But if going back to Charlie Blackmon here in the race for the division, they are in first place. I think if he were to come out and to beat Fernando Tatis in the MVP rankings, I think it would have to end with a 400 batting average, keep leading the league and, RBIs and and hits and all that kind of stuff. But I think the Rockies would have to win the division by at least 3 to 4 games, kind of like a clear-cut favorite to win everything. It wasn't they didn't just skate by or anything like that. It was a real true, hey, they were here, they dominated the entire season, and nobody really counted on them. I mean, I didn't count on them at all. But nobody really counted on him to win anything, and, here's why. It's because Charlie Blackmon had an incredible season, which he is having. So that's why I would think that Charlie Blackmon would be able to come through, but until that actually happens, I got Fernando Tatis. And then we got to throw this guy in there just for respect, and it's Nick Castellanos. I think Nick Castellanos definitely deserves to be in the conversation. I don't think he's anywhere near Charlie Blackmon. I don't think he's near Fernando Tatis either, but the stuff that he's doing, he's mashing the ball. He is having a great season for the Cincinnati Reds, who honestly, without him, probably would have the worst record in baseball right now. He is the reason why the Cincinnati Reds are even competing. They've had they had Senzel. They missed Senzel for a few games. They've missed Moustakas for a few games. They've missed Joey Votto for a few games. Their bullpen has been shaky as all get out, and they're still third in their division. They're still ahead of the Milwaukee Brewers. They should be ahead of the St. Louis Cardinals if they ever play a game again. And it's it just sucks that they had to be in the same division as the Chicago Cubs, who were just, rolling over everybody. So, I think that he definitely deserves to be in here. So, to go over his stats one more time, he's got, let's see, he's played 18 games, he's got 14 runs, 18 hits, he's got 4 doubles, a triple, 7 homers, 16 RBIs, Let's see. He's batting .273. He's got a .368 on base percentage, a .682 slugging. That's good for a .105 OPS and a .176 OPS plus. Yeah, they're third. They're below 500. He's like, for all you football fans out there, he was kind of like Jalen Hurts in this year's Heisman rankings and stuff like that. Like, he's playing incredibly well. He is a dominant force at the plate. He knows, that, he deserves to be there. He's not actually winning the MVP up until this point. Like, who knows, he could go on a massive hot streak and just take over the entire league. But, if this season were to end right now, he deserved it by playing so well in the early part of the year, but for a fact that he's ending up in third place. Yeah, that's really all that Nick Castellanos really has to say about that. But, he is having a great season. I still don't think that the Reds are going to be able to do anything to really put him. It would take probably Tatis being injured or one of the two other teams to just to completely tank the rest of the season for him to actually get into real contention. But crazier things have happened. I mean, we've seen walk-off inside the park's home runs. Or not walk-off, but we saw game-winning inside the park home runs. Multiple. Like, we saw Cole Calhoun do it. We saw with the Orioles the other day. The Tigers are still good. The Orioles are still good. It's 2020. You can't count on anything. Alrighty, guys. So, that was my take on the MVP race. So, you know how we have to end the show. We have to end the show with the series to watch this weekend. I am taking my final break, and I will be right back to break down those series and why you should be paying attention to those. Give me one moment. I will be right back.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Alright, everybody, and we are back. Alrighty, so, you know what the deal is. We got to close out the show somehow, and how we're going to close it out is the weekend series, what to watch for. So, I got the list of the games in front of me for the weekend. Let's just go down the list and see where the big games stand out. So, the first one that I see that really stands out is Cleveland versus Detroit. Never thought before the season that Detroit would be in a true meaningful series, but here we are. And not only is it meaningful, but they are currently in the battle for second place in the AL Central. So you got the Cleveland Indians, who just lost their two of their best pitchers, I should say, not their best, because they still got Biebs, but two of their best pitchers. And there's looking up at the Detroit Tigers. They're a half game behind the Tigers, who are a game and a half behind the Minnesota Twins. So, this is a really, really, really big series for the Cleveland Indians. If Cleveland is able to go in there and handle their business in Detroit, it'll really set the tone for their next series after the Pittsburgh series. And, they'll be able to really handle Detroit at home as well, and kind of narrow the gap in with the Minnesota Twins, because they do have the Twins next Monday, I think it is. Next Monday? No, the Monday after, sorry. So they have the Monday after they have the Twins in a series, which I expect is going to be whoever takes the series takes first place in the Central. That is a huge stakes coming so early in the season already. And, like I said, being without their top 2 pitchers, it's a really big deal. And for the Indians at least, and then for Detroit, you know, you just keep on playing. There's really no pressure on the Detroit Tigers at all whatsoever. Like, they have already exceeded anyone's furthest expectations of them this season. And, you know, if they're able to squeak out a win against the Cleveland Indians this early in the season and really put them, like, solidify themselves as a second place team in the AL Central, who's to stop them? Who's going to be the one to stop these guys? I mean, probably the Twins, but I mean, with no expectations, they're playing loose, they're playing free, and they're playing good baseball. So that's definitely going to be a series that you need to watch. Right after that, we have the Atlanta Braves and the Miami Marlins, a battle of first place in the NL East. You got the Atlanta Braves, who have been struggling against the New York Yankees. They've lost the past 2. I'm pretty sure they're probably going to lose the game today. But, you know, Saturday, it looks like they have Max Fried versus, you know, it's currently undecided for the Miami Marlins. But, you know, Max Fried, going to get him back on track. You know, he's probably one of my favorite pitchers in the game. Easily top 3. So we'll see if, you know, Atlanta can bounce back against, you know, after that rough series in New York. That's really kind of killed them so far, and see if they can take back first place. You know, ever since the Marlins came back from their little COVID scare, they've been, they've been reeling off some pretty good wins, but it looks like they're kind of coming down back to earth. So let's see how it goes. Let's see, going on, you got Tampa and Toronto. Toronto's been playing amazing. I mean, they just came back from an 8-0 deficit and won like 11-10 or something like that. Like, that was an incredible game. I don't think a lot is really riding on that game, to be honest, especially after, you know, the Yankees are really handling the after the Yankees. Oh, well, actually the Rays are completely turned it around and they're a game and a half back. Look at me. Isn't my face red? So definitely something you need to watch, because, you know, the Toronto Blue Jays are 6-9. Nice. And the Toronto Blue Jays are 11-8. So, yeah, the Yankees actually have somebody nipping at their heels right now. That's going to be great. So definitely we'll see if the Tampa Bay Rays can, you know, take care of the Toronto Blue Jays on the road in Buffalo, as weird as that sounds. Looks like they got Ryan Yarborough starting on Saturday, so it looks like it's going to be a pretty good pitching matchup between those two squads. Definitely keep an eye on that one. So far, it says the St. Louis Cardinals are playing on Saturday, which is nice. I don't know if they've actually are going to. It has a scheduled pitcher. It says Dakota Hudson versus Lucas Giolito against the Chicago White Sox. So if they are playing, if the St. Louis Cardinals are finally playing baseball again, I will be watching. You should also be watching, especially if they're going to be playing the Chicago White Sox. A young squad in St. Louis who's off their COVID-19 break. The Chicago White Sox, who have kind of had an up and down year. When they play good, they play great, and when they play bad, they play terrible. So I think it's definitely something to watch, because, you know, you never know what you're going to get. You're either getting an incredible game or you're getting a terrible game. Either way, it's going to be at least fun to watch, at least a little bit. Moving on from that, let's see. We got Houston and Seattle. That's nothing too special. Minnesota versus Kansas City. I think this is something to watch, mainly because Kansas City just swept Minnesota. So, you know, if the Kansas City Royals are able to come back and sweep Minnesota again, that would be something crazy. And that would also give, you know, who knows, if they're able to sweep and the Detroit Tigers are able to sweep, that means the Detroit Tigers would be the #1 team in the AL Central after this weekend. If that's not something to watch, I don't really know what is. I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah, I will definitely be tuning into that one. Let's see, we got Boston, New York. Nothing really to write home about there. Oakland, San Francisco. That'll be pretty good. Let's see what San Francisco's. They're currently last in the NL West. Oakland first in the AL West. I think I'll be able to skip that one. There could be some pretty good plays, though. I might tune in every now and then. Can't miss TV. Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and the San Diego Padres are at the Arizona Diamondbacks. After they put up 5 dingers against Madison Bumgarner last time they faced, I think every time they play Arizona, you really have to check that out. do not miss San Diego, Arizona. You got Texas at Colorado. Colorado, they hit about 4 homers a game, so really don't miss out on them. I can't see why anybody would really skip them. They're currently advertising... ESPN is currently advertising tickets for the Milwaukee Brewers and Chicago Cubs game. Whoa. Wait, I can buy a ticket to this? I'm kind of intrigued to click on that. I hope it's really... That would be weird because it says for a low price of $381. I hope people aren't paying $381 for a cardboard cutout behind home plate. That would be very dumb. But, going to the Milwaukee and Chicago Cubs, let's see. The Chicago Cubs are currently up 5.5 games on the Milwaukee Brewers. So I don't see Milwaukee putting up too much of a fight, especially because these 2 pitching names, Adrian Hauser and Alec Mills, I have no idea who they are. So I may just tune into that just to see a few Javi Baez and Wilson Contreras, maybe some Chris Bryant ABs, but besides that, nothing really too crazy out of there. And then lastly, for the series, we got the Los Angeles Freeway Series. We got the Dodgers versus the Angels. Currently got on Saturday, you got Walker Buehler versus Andrew Heaney, so Andrew Heaney is going to be leaving some cement mixers and some fastballs at about 85 miles an hour right at belt high. So I would definitely tune in for that just to see how many homers the Dodgers hit off the Angels starting rotation. And, if they hit a ton of homers off the starting rotation, you can hammer the over that they're going to be belting homers off the back end of the bullpen. So that I would say keep an eye on that. It's a late night series on the West Coast, so it's something that you can fall asleep to. Just put it on in the background as you're trying to go to sleep and just see, keep it on low, just so when the announcers just start saying, a ball belted deep, you can just open your eyes and just check out the homer and just watch the guys run the bases. Plus, it's Mike Trout. You got Trout, Rendon, and Shohei Ohtani, and you got, Betts, you got Bellinger, you got Turner. What more could you want in this series? Alrighty, guys. So that is going to be the episode. Thank you so much for sticking around. This means a whole lot to me. So I will be back on Tuesday with a new episode. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your families. And be sure to enjoy baseball this weekend. So you can follow me on Instagram at EvanWorley23. You can play me in Tap Baseball if you're bored. The nickname is EvanWorley23. And I would like to thank you guys for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask you all to please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. It really helps us. And if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you all, and have a great weekend.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.